Hi, I love your hair.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. We have more people joining in. Hi, everyone. Just how are you doing? Good evening, good afternoon, wherever we are. I'm Anita, the digital communications manager for Black Women in Project Management, and together with Leah, we are bringing you this webinar on building your mindset, learning on your village, ITTO clarity, and leveraging AI to pass your PMP exam. So I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce Leah. Leah is a certified project manager. I think officially started talking last year via email, and then having to learn about her experiences, everything she's had to accomplish so far as a project manager. I was like, oh my God, I would love to hear you speak to our community, like come and talk to us, come and share some of that knowledge, some of that wisdom with our community members. And it took a while, but we've made it happen. So really excited to have her here today. And I think I just realized that I've been talking. So please, just if you can hear us, okay, if you can hear us properly, just a reaction, a thumbs up, anything, just to let us know that you can hear us.
Hi, just testing 1, 2, 3. And also, if you can let me know if you
Awesome.
can see my screen. I'm sharing from 0 to PMP certified. Just like Anita said, just raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yay. Awesome. Okay. And then I'm going to pass this on now to our honorable speaker, Leah.
Okay.
The mic is yes.
Thank you. And thank you, Anita. So as Anita said, everyone goes, I get called Leah, but my birth name, my mother would love it, is Leasella. And I would just want to thank Anita and the Black Women in Project Management for allowing me to speak today. As Anita said, it has been a lot of work in the back end for me to get to this point. And that's because it took me 10 years to finally take and pass the PMP exam. So that I could tell you what it was like for me. And I know what you're thinking. Like me, you probably, have seen or sat through countless hours of presentations just like this one, where the speaker rattles off a list of resources, shares some study tips, and then finishes off with a rousing, you can do it too. Yeah, that wasn't me. And yes, you will get a list of resources shared at the end, and I'll share exactly which materials worked for me. But for the next 15 minutes or so, I just want to take a different path. Um, I want to I want to kind of just go into this journey, my journey. It wasn't just about getting the PMP and becoming part of some elite group, right? I wanted to achieve this goal since 2011 when I first realized I wanted to be a PMP. And actually, I was working for Project Management Institute at the time. And I was working like Anita, I was working with a lot of volunteer leaders. And I guess they saw something in me and they were like, why don't you become a project manager? And so I started looking into it and realized that unfortunately, I had to leave PMI to get the experience I needed to become a project manager. So part of the 10 years is because it took me 5 years to get all the hours and the experience I needed to apply and become eligible for the PMP. And so I always knew this test was notoriously difficult. And the sheer volume of information you needed to master was and is daunting, right? I mean, I don't know how many of you are currently studying, but how many of you are just inundated with study materials? Raise your hand, say smile, anything. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Shantae. Thank you, Allison. I appreciate the Oh, wow, Rod, thank you so much. So I'm with you. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. So for me, this journey, my journey became something far more foundational or fundamental. It was something that truly unlocked my potential. It was about having to shift away from this test taking anxiety I had and the fear of failing. And that's something I just really want to point out is that this fear of failing has plagued me throughout my entire education. Um, my my parents were great parents. Um, they pushed me, but not too hard because I pushed myself too hard. I am your quintessential. Oh, I need to unmute. Okay, thank you. Can anyone hear me? Because I think I'm unmuted already.
I can hear you.
Okay. If anyone else can hear me, please let me. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. So let me just back up a little bit. So to truly understand what I mean, I need to take you back to the past a little bit. And growing up, I was the eldest, and I was your typical overachiever. I would say I am the poster child for overachievers. So give me an assignment to write a 25-page paper on the US Constitution, and I'm going to crush it. But put any kind of multiple choice exam in front of me, and like clockwork, my anxiety skyrocketed. In college, it was a running joke in my family that during finals and midterms, I would always get the flu. Absolutely, 4 years of the flu. Purely self-inflicted stress. So if anybody else, Anita, if you can sympathize with me, if anybody else can sympathize with me, please let me know, because you feel like you're by yourself. Thank you, Valerie. It was horrible, to the point where my parents would throw away my grades and not tell me anything. Yeah, that's how bad it was for
Wow.
me. So when I told you at the start of the session that it took me 10 years to take the PMP, you're just starting to get a glimpse of the sheer mental anguish I put myself through. Not only that, but I I was unemployed, and I will share this, that I still am unemployed, but I was unemployed and didn't have a lot of funds. And so I had to reach out to my family and ask for help. And that was a very humbling experience for me. Um, I don't like to ask for help. Instead, I like to help others. And so um, that was really a humbling experience, and it taught me a lot about asking for help. But with that help came a lot of pressure that I put on myself. I put the pressure of my parent, my family wanting me to pass now because they had sponsored me, right? There was a pressure of my mom helping, putting that pressure, and it wasn't my mom, it was just me. My husband, I needed this PMP because I have to get a job, and this is critical. And it just mounted up, and it mounted and it mounted. And honestly, to just kind of get back to where I want to be, is that I was delayed in my study. So I had signed up in 2024, the fourth quarter, to take the PMP in March. And I signed up and I didn't start studying till January. And it just wasn't enough time for me. And I lost that time because of why? Because I put myself mentally through the ringer of having to pass. And then I had all these materials, and we'll get into that later. And so I didn't know what to do with all the materials. I had too many. And so the picture that you see now, so when you look at the image of Janet Jackson and Scream, and by the way, I love Janet Jackson. It's the first concert I ever went to as a kid. So
Nice.
I love Janet Jackson. And so for me, it just perfectly reflects the absolute mess I felt I was in. And it wasn't just about feeling anxious, right? Because this picture kind of sums that up. And as I already mentioned, it's like drowning in those study materials and videos. You just didn't know where to go. I had no direction. I was everywhere. So, by a show of hands, using your emojis or hands up, how many of you can relate to that feeling of just information overload when you think about your own PMP journey? Wow, look at the hands. Wow, look at
A
that,
lot of
Anita.
hands.
That's
Yeah, a lot.
amazing.
Amazing.
Shepard, Ryan, Kretsky, did I pronounce your name right? I hope I did. Janaja, I hope I pronounced your name right. Beautiful names, by the way, everyone. Sharonda, Allie, look at how many people have shared this. This is amazing. So, and it's not amazing, but it's amazing to know that I wasn't alone because I felt I was. And the reason why I felt that I was alone was because when I went on LinkedIn, everyone was talking about how they passed and how they studied and they talked about how hard, but they never talked about the mental part of it, right? And so I just felt like it's me. So I wanted to share this because some people DM me on LinkedIn and they were like, I have the same issue. I have the same. And so I reached out to Anita and I said, hey, can I talk about this? And thankfully, wow, Anita and the team behind the scenes at Black Women in PM were so receptive. So as I said, this slide captures that moment that I hit a brick wall of information overload. I was stuck. I couldn't figure out where to even start, what made sense, uh, and which guide was the right one to use. I will share with you that I started out using, oh, what's her name? Rita McCauley. I hope I'm Mulcahy. I I was wondering if it was in English. I just couldn't. I was like, is this in English? I don't even understand it. Thank you, Judy. Okay. Thank you. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I had to go back to the very beginning. And so there was this internal scream, oh my gosh, I can't pass this exam. There was this mental spot. And I think before we go on, I just want to be very, very transparent here. I failed. I took the exam twice before in 2020. I failed in 2020. I failed both exams. Now, there are reasons why I failed them, mostly because I ran out of time. I did know the material. That wasn't an issue, but I ran out of time. So that also didn't help me with my confidence, right? And then I was in an accident and
Oh
I
no.
had a serious surgery and I had to have like 6 casts and all this stuff. And um, I had to take the test a week after my surgery.
Oh no. That
And
must have been
so,
really tough.
yeah, and I failed.
Oh
So,
no.
yeah, it's not fun to take a test when you're on like painkillers. So, you know, I cried and I stopped taking it. That was in 2020, and I didn't take the exam again until 2025. And that really played and had an effect on me in terms of taking this test. And so the exciting part was I already knew what to expect, right? So that was the good news. The bad news was the test had changed. And guess what? So now we have fill in the blanks. And can you pick on the graph like where things are gonna, can you plot on the graph, right? We have these types of new ways of challenging you. Oh, great. So so this was not helping. Um, so like I said, I was stuck in this place and I couldn't even like take the exam. And so where did I start? And I took a PMP exam prep self-directed class. I started off small. And that was my reality for the entire month of January. And it was a really frustrating place to be. But the thing is, I didn't allow myself to stay stuck in that place. Do not allow yourself. I can't say this enough about my parents. They didn't allow me to stay stuck as a kid. They really pushed me, probably way harder. And I think all of you can really relate to this. Our parents always pushed us, right? Really hard because my parents wanted me to be better than them. And so they just wouldn't allow me to feel sorry for myself. And so as an adult, I just wouldn't feel sorry for myself. But I took too long getting out of my own head. Um, so eventually you have to say, and I don't mean the quote from a movie, but I'm going to snap out of it, right? You just snap yourself out of it from Moonstruck. If anyone here is in my age group, you understand what the movie Moonstruck was Cher. And so for me, it was around February, and I think I wasted enough time. I was scheduled to take the exam in March, and I just had to hit the reset button. And you see me, I'm having a little problem. Okay, so I hit the reset button, and honestly, I didn't know how. I didn't know how to hit that reset button. And so I started reaching out to people. And for me, hitting reset meant running away, or excuse me, I used the wrong word, running away, is moving away from chaos and leaning into my village. And I remember calling my cousin, practically in tears, and she spent an hour with me just hyping me up and telling me, "You got this." I didn't got this. I didn't have this, not at all. My husband gave me an incredible amount. I'm sorry. My husband had an incredible amount of patience and still does. I have very little patience. So he was a constant rock for me, always listening, helping me see things clearly. I think the challenge I had was, and if you rely on other people too who have already taken the PMP, like my husband and my cousin, they had taken a different test. So they didn't have the ECOs. They didn't have guide, I think PMBOK Guide 7, which is part all tailoring, right? PMBOK Guide 7 is all tailoring. PMBOK Guide 6 is more practical work, right? Or tactical. And so the frustration was that my husband was still giving me advice, but based on whatever exam it was he took. And it just didn't comprehend to or move over to this exam now or the way it is now. And so that was frustrating for him and for me. So there were a lot of what kind of conversations do I like? Oh, tough fellowship conversations in our household. And so I ended up moving beyond that, and I went to my friends for support, like Dr. Eddie Vertel and others who, even if they weren't PMs, hey, I don't need to go to a PM for this. I wanted to go to people who had faced their fears, whether it was a test or it was life. They were going to be the ones I wanted to talk to, especially if you went to someone who took the LSATs. Any difficult test that you can think of, go to those people. They're the ones that are going to really help you. And they gave me hours and hours of their time. And honestly, this informational support was by far the most helpful for me. And I'm sorry, you probably can hear the rustling. I have some notes, and I just want to make sure I'm hitting all my most important topics for you, because I am so committed to this conversation we're having, and I really want all of you to pass on your first time. So I apologize for the rustling, but again, I just need them to help me ensure that I hit every single important point. So it showed me it showed me how vital it is to surround yourself with people who will truly support you and be patient, let you vent, let you cry if you have to, and then celebrate your win, right? That's the fun part. So before we go into ITTOs, I just want to open it up. You can use the chat pod. I don't know if your mics can be unmuted, but why don't we just ask some questions here, if that's okay, Anita?
Yeah.
But specifically about any questions you have for me about your own process, how to kind of utilize your village, feel free to ask me here.
Okay. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and I can unmute your mic so you can ask. Or you can type in the chat box, the Q&A section or the chat box, whichever works for you.
Okay. So ITTOs, the first thing that helped me was to start understanding the ITTOs was, is anyone here into data? I love data, lots of data. I like looking at it and trying to find the pattern. So right there, I just gave you guys a hint. I started looking for the patterns. And I started to look at my analogies of how I can find the patterns. And I thought about cooking. I love to cook. I used to be a caterer 25 years ago, but I still like to cook. And so I thought about how I cook and think about whatever you like to make. The easiest one is baking bread, right? But something simple. And your inputs are your ingredients. And that's everything from your flour, your sugar, your eggs, those sort of things, right? Your ingredients. And then your input, then your tools, you need some bowls and spoons. You need some baking dishes, your stove, and then your technology. Well, that can be a lot of different things. That could be the recipe itself. It could be if you're using your phone because you keep all your recipes in your phone. And then your output, right, is the product, right? And what I figured out is that, and I'm trying to think about it. I'm sorry. That one process often fed into the next. And so if you kind of think about it like that, you're going to be fine. So I started noticing a lot of the same inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs that were in many of the processes. And my suggestion is, after this session, start looking for the commonalities. So for instance, can anyone, thank you, Shalomith. If I didn't pronounce your name correctly, I'm very sorry. If anyone can tell me what are some of the common patterns you have seen that are across a majority of the ITTOs? Come on. I know it's Saturday. I appreciate you guys taking your Saturday. Oh, ITTO are inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs. Okay, so what are some? Yes, Ryan, perfect. EEFs. EEFs stand for Enterprise Environmental Factors. Anyone else can name some others? Yep, Ryan, you're on the go here. Documents. Yes. Your plans. There is you will already have faced half of the work you need to in planning if you just realize that in planning, that's your process group. You have knowledge areas. In each knowledge area, what do you have? You have a plan. That's your output. So you have a plan risk management plan, you have a plan quality management plan, you have a plan communications plan. So you just know that the output in all your knowledge areas under planning are going to be a plan. And your plan just tells you what? It's very simple. Just tells you how. How are you going to do it? Richard, OPAs, absolutely correct. But then I started looking at mapping. I wanted to map each process to the ITTO. So I'm going to give you a little hint here, and I can't give you a lot of information because after you take the test, you have to kind of swear on your life that you don't share anything, and you can get in trouble. But I'm going to give you a little hint. Start looking at, how do I say this? Start looking at things like, oh, when in the process does the pick process begin? And the pick stands, oh my gosh, the pick process, it stands for the change. It's the performance integration change control process pick. When did it start? Because that was difficult for me. So try to really envision where that pick process is actually going to start. And also you want to look at things like quality, and you want to consider things like validation versus inspection. Those are going to be very, very, there's going to be a lot of patterns that you're going to see. So I'm just talking about the patterns. I'm not talking about the exam. There's just a lot of, when you go through the ITTOs, you're going to just say, oh, okay, I get it. Like for instance, in planning, where do you think your kickoff call would happen? I mean, obviously it's not going to happen in initiation, right? Or I should say in integration, right? Because integration is the first knowledge area. And it's not there because of why? Because you're putting your plan together. So that's the first phase. Does anyone want to take a guess in terms where the kickoff call happens? Because I didn't know the answer. I got it wrong until I started mapping. Okay, it's at the very end. It's at the very end of the planning process. And it's after the stakeholders approve the plan. Then you have your kickoff. All this time I thought the kickoff call was way earlier. So these are little things that I kind of picked up by mapping. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is just tailoring and the ITTO. So tailoring is very big with this PMP exam. Tailoring, as I mentioned previously, tailoring is in Guide 7, and most of the ITTOs all the ITTOs are in PMBOK Guide 6. And when I say Guide 7, I'm saying PMBOK Guide. That's the Project Management Body of Knowledge. So what I want you to do is I want you to think of your ITTOs as a toolbox, all right? And you're told what tool to use in each situation. And then you need to pick the right tool based on the project methodology. And you're going to be excuse me, I'm talking so fast. And you want to be able to explain why you chose that tool. So let's go through it. So I'm going to show you exactly what I did. Okay, I'm going to choose, Ryan, give me an example of a tool and let me see if I can anyone give me an example of a tool, and then I'll see if I can put it into some process. Ryan, Richard, Richa. Okay, so I'm going to pick out a tool. I'm just going to say Project Charter. All right, but I'm going to say that my project is agile, and I have an agile project. I'm using brainstorming. Okay, you picked a hard one, brainstorming. Okay, so how am I going to use brainstorming? When am I going to use it? When does it make sense to you? It makes sense to use brainstorming at the very beginning. Now that's just one area. Because of time, I can't go through all of it, but the very beginning, initiation, I'm going to brainstorm. What am I going to brainstorm? I'm going to brainstorm business documents. I'm going to brainstorm if this project is feasible. I want to brainstorm if this is what the ROI is, and what are the documents I'm going to need as an output in order for me to say this is a go or no go decision. And you know how I'm like quizzing myself, but I'm making it into a live project? That's exactly what I would do. And I actually would have somebody in front of me who I could talk to. Now, they didn't understand what I was talking about half the time. They're not in project management, but I just needed that person to act like a stakeholder and pretend they were a stakeholder, and I went through the process. And then once I went through the process, it started to resonate with me. Did I make sense? Like, because I know I kind of was a little choppy there, but does this resonate with anybody? You can
Do you
raise your
mind just
hand.
do you mind just explaining me the game?
Sure. So, I think it's called something in acting. I can't remember it, but I basically pretended that I was in a live project. And I pretended that I was the project manager brought on at the very beginning. And how was I going to identify if this project was going to be approved, right? Because that's initiation process. And initiation, you're not yet saying that this is an approved project. I'm sorry, I'm saying integration, pardon me. Integration. So the process is initiation and the knowledge area is integration. And so looking at brainstorming, right? Think about it. How are you going to get all the requirements? How are you going to bring people together? You can do surveys. You can do questionnaires. Or you can brainstorm. And that's one of the tools that you can use or techniques that you can use to get approval for your project to say if it's a focus groups. Thank you. Now, there's a lot of information to talk about with brainstorming, but depending on the project and how many people are involved and the stakeholders, I wouldn't necessarily say that brainstorming is the best tool to use. It just depends on the project and the methodology. Obviously, if you're in Agile, brainstorming is going to be really popular. Is it going to be really useful in waterfall? Probably yes, it just depends. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because of tailoring. Guide 7 is all about tailoring. So be sure when you're studying, I recommend having PMBOK Guide 6 in front of you and PMBOK Guide 7 in front of you, and then the ECOs. And those are the examination content. That's the examination content outline, and there's a 35 ECOs. And they're broken down into 3 domains. And when you think about the process and tailoring, you're going to go into, okay, but if this was an agile project or a hybrid project, how would I tailor my project to use brainstorming? If this was a waterfall project, how would I tailor my project? Make sense now, Anita? How are people reacting to it?
Yes, it
Good?
is.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Okay. Ryan, I just want to acknowledge your question. Very soon we're going to start answering them. So if you have any questions so far, you can just put it in the question and answer segment, the Q&A box, and then we can go to them once we're done with the presentation.
Yeah, and I just want to go back. If you can see here, RMC Learning, Games, and Quizzes, I highly recommend purchasing Rita Mulcahy's PMP examination book, because if you purchase that, you also get access to her online games and quizzes. And they have a wonderful game for you to learn the ITTOs, as well as your processes and the processes that go under each process. It's really hard. It's really fun. I had a great time doing it. And then as I was studying the patterns, right, and looking and doing my mapping exercise on my own, I was like, oh, I get this now. Like the light bulb, the ding, ding, ding went on in my head. So the most important thing I want to end with is looking at those patterns. Things like brainstorming, where is that in? Things like your documents, things like, and I'm going to give you a hint here, verification, inspection versus audit. Then you're gonna know it. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna do really well. But you have to talk about how each ITTO is tailored to the type of methodology you're using. Okay, so then, and I was going to get into a lot more detail about using AI, but I want to spend some time, I want to allow for time for you guys to talk instead of me do all the talking. But I gave here a swim lane of, well, not a swim lane, but basically a flow of how I used AI for technology and for learning. And what I did was I asked AI to be my study buddy. So I actually wrote in my prompt, you are my study buddy for the PMP exam. Here are all the documents. Here are all the materials we're using. And I went through each and every book I'm using, Udemy course I took. If you're signed up for PMI Study Hall, which I'm highly recommending you get that Study Hall, put all the documents, all the resources you're using, but make sure you give your AI, whatever AI your platform you're using, a role. I recommend not giving AI the role of a tutor or as a training instructor, and I'll get into that later. But I highly recommend giving AI the role of a study buddy. And so I was really able to get to understand through AI how to improve not only timing. So AI helped me put together a study plan. I was able to identify uh, everything from my day-to-day. I put in everything about my day-to-day schedule: job hunting, walking my dogs, breaks, dinner, bedtime, laundry, and the times I wanted. So I get up in the morning at 8 a.m. I go to bed around 10, and they gave me this perfect, I mean, very elaborate study plan, and based on everything I needed to study along with the documents. And so for me, AI was a powerful complement to traditional PMP study. I want to emphasize it did not replace for formal training or simulators or just old-fashioned reading and learning principles. And despite the great explanations that I received in simulators, and I'll tell you, you'll see some of the simulators I used. PMI has a wonderful simulator. It's called the Study Hall. And I also use Cornelius. I can't pronounce his last name, I apologize, but I also use Prepcast. It's Prepcast. It's in my notes. It's at the end of the presentation. They were extremely difficult exams and tests. I didn't always fully grasp why the answer was correct or incorrect. And even though I would go back into my process book or my PMBOK guide, I still wasn't quite understanding why the answer was the answer given. And so I would use AI to clarify the responses to the questions I got wrong. And then I would say, can you put your explanation in in a way that makes explain why something is the way it is, but as a 12th grader. Like if you can make me understand something as a 12th grader, okay. Or if you can show me a picture and give me like a graph of something, great. And that's what it did. And then I started understanding it. And AI gave me personalized explanations that fit my learning style. And I want to just emphasize that my mind shift started to shift, for lack of a better word, no pun intended. I started going from I can't do this to, oh my gosh, I think I can pass. So my advice here at the end is don't use AI to replace study materials or trainers. Actually, I would steer away from that, and the reason why I would is because I tried to do that and I got wrong information and I caught it because I would go back. I did a lot of work. I would go back to see AI's answer and I would ask AI, I want you to identify the page. I want you to give me the source that you got that answer from. I mean, I wanted references. And then I would go back and go, nope, that's not what I needed. That's wrong. And so just be careful about how you're utilizing AI. Utilizing it to check your answers, utilizing it to be a buddy for you is great, but utilizing it, just avoid I call it over reliance. Don't let AI do all the thinking for you. And use it to deepen your understanding, but not to bypass it. You want to verify, verify, verify. You can also use AI to help you create flashcards. And that was very helpful for me as well.
Okay.
And so I just want to thank Anita and the Black Women in PM for the opportunity to speak today, and to everyone who joined and contributed to the conversation. I hope I've given you a few new ways to approach your PMP prep and a little motivation to keep you going. Earning the certification isn't easy at all, but others who came before us persevered and showed us it's absolutely doable. And to quote my cousin, you got this.
Yay, thank you, Leah. That was an amazing presentation. Um, I loved how you talked about your experiences, your personal experiences, and how they've shaped your journey so far, and all of this really insightful tips that you've shared. I think I had a question. You said something a few minutes ago when you were talking about how your mindset started shifting. And I just wanted to ask if you meant that if that mindset shift happened when you started using AI, right? Or when you employed all of these techniques that you talked about.
What a great question. I love this question. Thank you. Because I touched upon it and then I touched upon it in my notes and I didn't talk about it. So thank you. What happened was I was taking, at one point, I did my studying and I kind of did my review and I didn't read all of my materials. Like here, I just want to show you. See all these study materials? I mean, it's ridiculous. So, uh, so there's a lot of materials. You can't read all of it in 3 months. I only gave myself, and do this, please. Give yourself 3 months. That's all you need. 3 months to study for the exam, and I want you to schedule your exam at the 4th month. Maybe give yourself 6 months, okay? Because if you're working full time, maybe give yourself 4 or 5 months extra. If you have kids, you might need more. I don't have children. But give yourself 12 good weeks of study. And I didn't study, I mean, someone told me they studied like 10 hours a day. Oh, come on. I can't study 10 hours a day. Be realistic about your study plan and give yourself 3 months. But please, please, please schedule that test ahead of time. And what I did was I reviewed the documents, I skimmed through them, I took some of the quizzes in the books, but then I started focusing on the exams, on those simulators, those mock tests. And I will tell you, and I'm showing you right now, Study Hall PMP and Cornelius Fechner, they are very difficult exams. Very difficult questions. And I was getting like 48 when I first started out. I got like a 48%. I think when I first started, I did get like a 67. And then I got into some harder questions and I took quizzes, and the quizzes I would do really bad in. I did so bad in the quizzes. But I would do really well in the exam. Go figure. And Anita, what happened was I started, it was crazy. I was like failing the quizzes. Like, truth be told, I was failing the quizzes until like the before 3 weeks before taking the exam. And then I just was like, okay, I'm just going to take a quiz. a week and see how I do. And I started getting 70s third week. And then I started getting a 74 and I went, "Oh my gosh," second week. And then the last week, I don't take any exams. I recommend not taking any exams before the exam. So the week of the exam, don't take any exams. And then I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got a 74." And then Cornelius Fitchner and PMI study hall, they give you a thing like if you scored around this or this, they can't tell you that you're exactly going to pass, but they'll tell you people who scored in this percentage, here's the number of people who pass. And I was like, "Oh my God, I scored in this." And like, I think it said like 70 to 80% passed. That's Cornelius's work. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to pass." I had so much confidence going into the exam. I knew I was going to pass, but it didn't come overnight. It was like my aha moment. It just started to click, but it took a while to click. And I don't want
Okay.
you to feel frustrated because it took a while to click. You may be like me. It may take you up until 3 weeks before your exam, and it's not going to click. And then you just decide to shift and decide to take the exams, and it works. And you go, "Oh my gosh, I figured it out." I highly
Awesome.
recommend taking as many exams as you can.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for clarifying that. That was really interesting. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, so the floor is officially open for questions. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box, put in the question and answer segment. And now we're going to take Ryan's question. So Ryan says, I'm currently taking an exam prep and I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed by the directive versus controlling versus guiding versus supportive matrix or weak versus strong in project management. What tips do you have to remember this?
Um, I don't understand the question actually. Ryan, can you give me a little bit more information? I apologize. Anita, can you say it again? Or
I'm just
repeat
trying to
it?
see. Let me see. Okay. Let me see if I can find Ryan so we could just let him speak.
Yeah, because I really want to get this right. Like this is your time. You've heard me talk now. I want to hear you guys.
All right, Ryan, I think you can
Hello,
speak
I'm
now.
Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
So, in the exam prep that I'm currently taking, one of the practice quizzes, and like you said, take as many quizzes as you can. One of the practice quizzes is kind of honing in on organizational governments
Yeah.
and the trying to decide between if this is a strong matrix or if this is a weak matrix. And um, the project manager may be part time but
Oh
takes
yeah.
direction from someone else. So all of those different matrices are kind of a little confusing for me.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to figure out how to remember all of them.
This is a great question. Um, I want you to put it in AI, and I want you to put as much detail as possible. I know this is going to be a lot of work. I did it though. I want you to like go into your, whatever Word document, whatever document you use, and type out all the matrices. And then type out balanced, and then here's what, the project manager versus the functional manager, I think. And I want you to put everything in a document. And then I want you to go to AI, and I recommend either Gemini or ChatGPT. And I want you to say, "You are my study buddy, and I want you to, and you and I are reviewing the organizational structures." But you have to put in the exact word, the term. And then I want you to say, "Do not make up any information. Only refer to my documents." And then put in all the documents you're using. And then say, "I would like you to give this to me in a format like a table format." And then I want you, and it's a lot, right? And then I want you to say, I want you to tell me how I can best learn this or remember it. What are some tricks and tips? The exact phrase I want you to say is, what are some tips and tricks to learning blank for the PMP exam? And it's going to
Okay,
give it to you. And it worked.
that's awesome.
Because that I had a hard time remembering it too. But you know what I did though? I looked at the pattern, and you know what I did? Oh, I said, oh, I really just wanted to know where the project manager was 100% in charge, because there's only a few,
Yes, yes.
right?
Awesome.
So that's your hint. So there's only a few. So all the others I could figure out. And I
Thank you.
knew the
Thank you.
administrator piece. Yeah, sure. So I knew the administrator part was simple because they're not even like really a project manager at all, right? So that was easy. So that's kind of like how I looked at it, but I had the same exact issue. I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to remember all this. And don't try to memorize it. Because I think I kind of hear, I think maybe you might be trying to memorize it. Don't memorize it.
I am.
Instead, yeah, don't memorize it. Instead, role play. Pretend that you can use me as you. If you need my help one day, I can get on a call with you, and just talk to me. Uh, we can just say, hey, I'm a project manager. I've been hired for a matrix company, and I can just role play with you. Finding someone that you can role play with you and go through scenarios and tailor, because that's the biggest thing is, okay, so now you know the difference between a balanced and a matrix and the projectized, and where the PM is fully or mostly responsible for resources, but the functional manager is responsible for the budget. But then consider, where does that fit in with tailoring? And where does that fit in then if you're in agile? And where does that fit in then when you're in waterfall? So those are the
Okay.
questions I want you to also add to AI. And my suggestion would be is to add all your questions into a document and before you put it in AI, and then copy and paste it, because then that's your learning material. Then you don't have to keep typing it over and over again.
Okay. Thank you so much, Leah.
Sure.
We have another question from Alison. I'm just going to take Alison's question, then we're going to go back to the chat box to read some comments and questions there. Alison is asking, can you elaborate on how you used AI to generate flashcards?
Oh, sure. So they asked me. So it asked me, or they listen to me. I'm already giving it like human qualities. Um, I would put in some information that I didn't quite understand. So I had a really difficult time understanding the difference between validation and inspection, and how they fit into what methodology you're using. And the reason why I had a hard time is because I'm a CSM. And so I knew how I was learning, and I was learning a certain way. And then I had to change my frame of work to the PMI sort of, way of thinking. So it was just a little difficult for me to grasp the tailoring piece. And even though I have tailored projects before, I'm not tailoring the way PMI wanted me to tailor. So so with that said, when you put in all your information, it's the system will say, do you want me to create flashcards for you? And you say yes. One thing I will give you that helped me is that I learn better when I'm writing things. Studies have shown that if you read something and then write it, you learn about, I think it's like something like 30% or 40 something percent more. You retain it better. So I wrote my own flashcards. I asked GBT to give me the flashcard, the information for the flashcards, but I actually, I was just gonna show you, like, like I actually wrote my flashcards out. So I hand wrote them so that I could learn it better. So like I said, do not rely on AI to to do the work for you. You do that work. It's just there to quiz you. It's just there to kind of reinforce. I don't know, Anita, do you have a different way of saying it? It's there to just reinforce what you don't know, or to kind of help you understand what you don't
Yeah,
know, or to reinforce what you do know.
reinforce it actually all works. Everything
Yeah,
you say. Yeah, it
thank
doesn't do
you.
the work. You don't use it to replace yourself. You don't replace yourself with AI. It just builds on what you know.
Yeah. I do hope we can take more questions because I think this is I think it's really important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I have a comment here from Alison that says, "Thank you so much for sharing your story and for being vulnerable. Your story and tips are enormously validating and helpful to me. I am using PM Prepcast and think I will pivot my studies to focus on practice exams and using my AI study buddy to help explain weak areas."
I didn't hear the
Thank you.
question. Sorry. Oh,
No,
okay.
it's
It's
not a
just like a
question.
statement.
She's just
Okay.
thanking you. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
statement, a comment.
Okay.
And then, but Rod has a question here. Thank you, Alison. Thank you. Rod
Thank you,
says, my
Ryan.
original application for the PMP was extended until August 9th. Sorry. I was supposed to take the exam on July 8th, but after taking the first of 4 exam simulator by Cornelius and got 48%, I rescheduled the test on August 4th. I will
Yep.
cram to take the other 3 mock-up exams.
Yes.
Stressful.
Don't cram.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I
Um,
think that builds on the point we were talking about earlier when you said
yeah.
do not memorize, do not cram.
Yeah, the cramming. Don't cram. I want to just kind of, can you guys switch over, or I want to switch over to here. Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Really quick. Did I miss PMI? PMI. Oh, here it is. Okay, this is really important. If you're currently studying, I want you to use these areas or visit them. David Lachlan, 200 Agile Questions and Answers, Eisenbridge. Okay, they're really hard. They go over the 200 the hardest questions. I mean, they were so hard, it was ridiculous. And they give you the answer, and then they give you the thought behind it. And what I did is my husband and I would sit together, and he would say, "Okay, Lee, what do you think it is?" And I would say, "Well, I think it's this because this, and this, A, B, C, and D." And we would pause it because I didn't want to answer. And he was like, "Well, why do you think it's that?" And I was like, "Because this, and this." And he would say, "Well, I think it's this." And then we found out we were both wrong. Or he was right and I was wrong, or I was right and he was wrong. But it helped me because even though I was wrong, I was like, okay, but why am I wrong? And then my partner, he was like, okay, this is why I think you were wrong, because you missed a word. It was just a word. I just missed the word, and I was like, and then I also missed, okay, this was interesting. Sometimes you'll have a very long question. You have to decide what they're asking in the last question. So my suggestion is to go backwards. Look at the answers, then look at the last line, like the last question, and then read the question, the full scenario. So if
Okay.
it's a really long scenario, don't read the whole scenario. Go through, look at your answers, then look at the question at the end, because they may not be asking you for the answer that's at the end of the scenario. They may be asking you for a response that's at the beginning. You just have to figure it out. I know it
Okay.
sounds easier than said and done.
Okay, thank you for sharing. We actually have just 2 more minutes. Hoping that we don't get locked out. But if by any chance we are locked out, I just want to say thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Leah, for being here. I just want to say my thanks, and then we can continue taking questions just in case we get cut off. But I know someone asked if we're going to get access to this video, this recording. Yes, we're going to upload this to our YouTube channel, and then we're going to share the link to attendees. Leah, one more question for you. I think actually
Sure.
2 more questions. But yeah, I think let's go to the first one. Melissa says she has test-taking anxiety. Do you have any specific tips for managing anxiety before the exam and then on the day of the exam?
Yeah, get a good night's rest. Um, don't eat heavy. Don't eat anything heavy, but eat a little something like a bagel or um, a shake or something like that. Be careful about how much water you drink. Like because you only get, I think, 2 breaks. And they're only 10 minutes, so just be careful about how much water you consume and that sort of thing. I wouldn't drink too much caffeine because it can and that's another thing actually. I would be careful about how much caffeine you have because caffeine, alcohol, all those are depressant and they can also exacerbate your anxiety. I actually didn't drink or I don't drink coffee anyway, but I didn't drink any alcohol while I was studying for the PMP.
Okay. Thank you very
I
much. So
exercise. I would exercise as well. Exercising was really important. And also, I don't have a problem admitting it. I sought out some mental health therapy just to kind of help me through it, to have someone to talk to because I didn't, sometimes you just need someone else to talk to other than your family member or your spouse or your partner. And so I felt like I just needed to be able to talk to someone that wasn't so close to me because I felt like people were just going to kind of give me lip service, or tell me what I wanted to hear. So now it's 5:01 and I'm worried about us getting caught out. So
no, thank you. Let's see if we can like squeeze in one more question.
okay.
Kretzy says, yeah, thank you so much for the information. Can you please share more about how you mapped concepts out to study for the exam?
Okay, that's a long answer and I'm worried we're going to get caught out. But I wrote all the processes. So I looked at all the processes, the 5 processes, right? You have initiation, planning, execution. And then I added all the inputs to each process. All the inputs, all the the TTOs, and I put them all in their respective area. And then I used Excel and I used a count if feature and it would highlight and I asked it to highlight the areas where there was similarities. And then I used a pivot table. And then I could pivot out all the information like OPAs, and then it would give me all the feedback in terms of where I'm going to find all the OPAs, or like where would I find all the EEFs and all the documents, the project documents. And project documents is different than the project plans, by the way. And so all these were really important. So that's how I did it. It took a long time. I mean, I think it took me like 2 hours to do it. But if you're good with Excel, and also if you don't have time to do that, you can use AI to generate it for you. They'll map it out for you. But I wanted to do it on my own because I wanted to learn.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a part of this, for creating the time to be a part of this, and thank you so much, everyone, for Victorious. What do you mean by can you share it? Are you talking about the
Oh, the share, are they going to be able to share
concept?
the how are you going to access the recording? Is it on your website or will it be on
Yeah,
LinkedIn?
yeah, we'll share on LinkedIn. We'll also share to attendees here once we upload to YouTube first, to our YouTube channel.
Also, I would say that if anyone has any questions that they want to talk to me on the back end, feel free to look me up. I'm on LinkedIn. And feel free to send me over a question. I may not get to you today or tomorrow, but I will definitely get to you on Monday. And if anybody would like my study materials, I just want to put the offer out there. I am happy to ship my study materials to you for a very low price because a lot of people help me. Like I said, I was unemployed and I want to help other people, and I'm happy to send this out, and I'm not going to charge you a lot for it.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's a really great offer. Okay. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you again for taking time out this beautiful Saturday, to attend this webinar. I'm really
Well, for you it
grateful.
is. It's not beautiful.
Oh no. Okay. It is beautiful here. It's so sunny. All right.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Have a great rest of the
Nice
weekend.
to meet you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Alison.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.